Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Tower of God New World. In today's video, we are going to cover the brand new SSR character, LERO. So I just went live like a couple hours ago, and I've been working on the LERO video, and overall this unit is a pretty solid support unit. But before I go into further explanation, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. I'd really appreciate it. And if you guys are new here on the channel, I have a Discord server, so if you guys are interested in joining, I'll post a server link in the comment section down below so that you guys can join up. Anyways, let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and hop right into the video. So I ended up bringing my LERO up to 1 red star. I did a summon session on my live stream, so if you guys want to check that out, you guys can watch the live stream. But I got him to 1 red star, which is actually pretty good. So let's go ahead and check out his kit. So if we look at his skill right here, let's look at his passive, Shinsu Amplification. So LERO increases all allies magic peers by 16% at the start of the battle. He then increases all allies magic peers by an additional 6% every 10 seconds once the battle begins, max 4 stacks. So looking at his passive, he is clearly going to be a great support unit for magic damage type units, because magic pierce is of course for magic damage type DPS units such as Rachel, Birding, etc. So he's going to be a really great support for DPS units who deal magic damage. Now, when we look at Lightning Zone, LERO creates a Lightning Zone which deals 280% of his attack as damage to enemies in range every second for 6 seconds. The first attack of the Lightning Zone paralyzes targets in range for 2 seconds. So honestly, the Lightning Zone, I don't think this active skill is a pretty big deal. I just think it's just like an additional part of his kit. That's pretty much it. I don't really see the Lightning Zone as a big part of his kit, but that's just pretty much the first active skill. Now, when we look at the second active skill, Lightning Beast, LERO enhances his weapon using the Dangan style weapon reinforcement technique, applying Blitz to all allies for 8 seconds. Blitz increases their basic attack damage by 105% and decreases the energy of the targets hit by their basic attack by 14. If the target is a summoned being, the basic attack damage increases by an additional 25%. So this is actually pretty good considering how you have units like Shalil who can excel at basic attacks, because Shalil has basically guaranteed act, like she can have guaranteed hits because of how much accuracy she has and evasion. So this active skill can pair really well with units who use basic attacks. So this is actually pretty good. And for summon beings such as Punisher when he summons the bull on the battlefield, the additional 25% basic attack increase is going to be really good for Punisher. Now let's go ahead and look at his special move, which is Shinsu Barrier. LERO creates Shinsu barriers that last 6 seconds for all of his allies. When the barriers are created, the attack and defense of the ally with the lowest HP percentage each increase by 70% for 6 seconds. This will not apply to LERO. Shinsu barriers block projectile attacks, and the protected in allies regain HP equal to 350% of LERO's attack for each projectile block. So honestly, his special move, it's good, but the one thing that I don't like about his special move is the fact that the additional attack and defense can only apply to the ally who has the lowest HP. It would have been better if this can apply to the unit who had the highest attack, because this would work really well with DPS units. Since he's like a good support unit for DPS units, I feel like the lowest HP doesn't really match. It would have been better if it was for the unit who has the highest attack. That would have been a lot better. But basically, the barrier and the attack and defense increase will only apply to the ally who has the lowest HP at the time, and that 70% increase is insane. So that's why I said I feel like the highest attack would have been a lot better than the lowest HP. And the Shinsu barrier block projectile is actually pretty good. It's not bad overall. So that's pretty much his special move. I will say that the duration of the Shinsu barrier is kind of short. Like 6 seconds is short, but that's pretty much his special move. So when we look at his whole kit, I feel like the best part about his kit is his passive and his active skill, Lightning Beast. These are like the two best things in his kit. The active skill, Lightning Beast, and Shinsu amplification. This is what makes it really, really good and a very universal unit overall. Now let's go ahead and check his exclusive equipment. So when we look at level 1, LERO recovers 50 energy for each enemy hit by lightning zone. So basically when he procs the active skill lightning zone, he's going to recover 50 energy. And then for level 2, each projectile stopped with Shinsu barrier increases the target's ally defense by 10% for 6 seconds, max 5 stacks. So you basically get 50% additional defense for 6 seconds. But I don't know if you'll be able to get that max 5 stacks before the 6 seconds are up. I don't know, but that's pretty much level 2. And then for level 3, when increasing allies attack and defense with a Shinsu barrier, LERO gains the same effect. So when he applies the additional attack and defense to the ally who has the lowest HP, he is also going to get that additional attack and defense as well. And then for level 4, Shinsu amplification is enhanced to decrease the activation time of the additional magic pierce increased by 5 seconds. So level 4 is actually pretty good. So when I look at his exclusive equipment, it's not that bad, but it's not insane. I would say the only good level out of all these levels is level 4. Level 4 is actually pretty good, the fact that it's decreasing the activation time. But I'll say level 3 is kind of mid because LERO isn't even a DPS unit. He's mostly a support unit, so there's no reason for him to get that additional attack. So I will say the level 3 is kind of pointless, but level 4 is actually pretty good overall. Now let's go ahead and talk about ignition weapon. So for the ignition weapon, the ignition weapon that I have on him is the Runda set. Now this Runda set is going to increase his max HP, and he's also going to grant a barrier to all allies in the same row as him. So this is going to be a really good set for him because he's a support unit. So you want to make sure that he's able to keep your team alive, and he's also able to keep himself alive as well, because the thing about LERO is he is a melee unit. He is not a long range unit. He is melee, so his survivability can be questionable. So you want to make sure that, you know, he stays alive because he is a melee unit. And I'll say another good alternative set is probably Bergamot, because Bergamot has lifesteal. Since LERO is going to be in the front line doing some melee attacks, you definitely want to put in Bergamot so that he can get some lifesteal. So two best sets for him is Runda and Bergamot for that survivability and the support capabilities as well. For the new set Idea, I did test the new Idea set on him. This set right here, I did test this on him, but it's pretty much pointless because the 4-piece set effect can only activate 2 times. I feel like this set can mostly work on DPS units, not on support units. And the 2-piece set effect has good effect resistance, but I still feel like the Runda and the Bergamot set are the two best sets for him. This set right here and the Bergamot, this set. Those are like the two best sets for him. And when we look at stats, so you want to make sure you put magic resistance on him for survivability, and you also put physical resistance so that he can actually keep himself alive. And you don't have to really worry about HP and attack, because when we looked at his kit, he doesn't really scale off of anything. Like none of the barriers scale off of his attack, HP, or whatever. He doesn't scale off of anything. Actually, yes, he does. It's equal to LERO's attack. Disregard what I just said. So the barrier projectile block actually scales off of LERO's attack. So disregard what I just said right there. But yeah, it does scale off of his attack. So I will say, if you want to focus on his barrier, then focusing on attack won't be a bad option. But remember, he is a support unit, so you don't want to really focus on, you know, crit damage, because he is a support unit at the end of the day. So the only thing that he scales off of is attack for the barriers, and that is it. When it comes to the additional attack, additional defense, all that type of stuff, he doesn't scale off of anything besides the barrier, and that's it. So those are like the top stats you want to focus on: attack, magic resistance, physical resistance, some effect resistance wouldn't be too bad, effect hit, and that is pretty much it. Those are like the only things you want to worry about. Lifesteal, I'll say lifesteal is if you have Bergamot, and that is literally it. But swiftness is also important. So those are like the top stats you want to focus on. So now let's go ahead and talk about teams. Let's talk about the best team comp for LERO. So I ended up forming this team comp for LERO. I feel like this team comp is pretty solid because, like I said, when we look at LERO's passive, LERO can basically increase magic pierce, and Rachel is a magic damage type unit, so he's basically increasing Rachel's attack overall. And then Shalil is also going to be doing some like really good damage because of her basic attack. If we look at Shalil's passive, it says Shalil's basic attacks deal damage to enemies in an area in front of her, and the fact that she has that increased accuracy, I feel like LERO is definitely going to be a good unit to increase Shalil's damage overall because of the basic attack. Keep in mind, Shalil is a physical damage dealing unit. She is not magic, so LERO's passive doesn't really benefit Shalil because she is a physical damage dealing unit. But at the same time, Shalil gains two benefits from LERO, which is the additional basic attack increase, and on top of that, since Shalil is a really squishy unit, LERO, his special skill is going to activate on Shalil like 70% of the time. It won't happen all the time, but since Shalil takes the most damage, his special skill will always activate on Shalil, which allows her to do some insane damage overall. So this is a really solid team that I wanted to show you guys. Now let me go ahead and put Yeon over here because this guy's gonna one shot. So let's go ahead and test and see how good this team is. All right, so we did win right there. And as you guys can see, Shalil doing 115 million damage, Rachel dealing 120 million damage, and LERO, he was able to do some really good healing. And the fact that he was able to increase Rachel's damage and also increase Shalil's basic attack is actually pretty good. So I will say that LERO, he is not a healing unit, and he is not, when it comes to survivability, I will say that he is not the best when it comes to enhancing your team's survivability. He's more of a buffing unit because of the additional magic pierce and the additional basic attack. So that's pretty much what LERO is here for. Now, if you don't have Rachel because she is a collab unit, you can use various other magic damage dealing units. So another magic damage dealing unit would be, let's say Yiwa, for example. Yiwa is a magic damage type. So let's go ahead and let's try this out. So I'm going to go ahead and take out Eon. We're going to put in Compressed Rack. Compressed Rack is going to be a physical damage type unit, but we're going to put him in because he can do some pretty good basic attacks as well. And then we can also put in Bomb here. So if we can find Bomb, it is so hard to find these characters sometimes, which is actually annoying. So a team comp like this is actually pretty good. And this is why I say this, LERO is a very good universal support unit because he is not restricted to just one single team comp. He is really good for magic damage type units and also good for units who do good basic attack. So let's go ahead and try this team comp to see how good it is. Actually, I just remembered, Michael is gonna one shot, so we're gonna have to put Zahard over here instead. I just realized that, but let's go ahead and let's see what we got here. All right, so as you guys can see, look at how much damage Yua and compressed track were able to deal. And yeah, as you guys can see, LERO was able to do some good healing right there as well. So that is pretty much what LERO is built for. LERO is built for enhancing basic attack and enhancing the magic pierce for magic damage type units. But that was pretty much his performance uh in this in Guardians test. And I feel like testing him in adventure mode would be a good thing to do. So we're going to come over here to adventure mode. We're currently in floor 30, stage 5. So let's go ahead and use this same exact team comp. And let's see how well this team can actually perform. All right, so for that attempt, Shalil died immediately. And like I said, this is not 100% guaranteed for Shalil to stay alive 24/7. She will die sometime. So you're going to have to be careful as of to what, how you place her Shalil on the team, because at the end of the day, Shalil, she's still a really squishy unit overall. But I feel like LERO, he gives Shalil another chance to stay alive. So Rachel did some really good damage right there, like 324 million damage. Keep in mind, guys, LERO is increasing her damage because of Magic Pierce. So that was a really good performance right there overall. For Shalil, I don't know about that, but for Rachel, she did really solid right there. I'll say for Shalil, her only problem is, of course, her survivability. And LERO, his special move, 70% of the time will activate on Shalil if she can stay alive for at least more than 10 or 11 seconds. So we're going to go ahead and head on to the next stage. And let's try this team again. And then on the next stage after this, we're going to try the Yua and Compressed Drag to see how good Yua is with the additional Magic Pierce. All right, so for that time, Shalil she was actually able to stay alive, and you guys saw that LERO activated his special skill on Shalil. Now she didn't do a lot of damage right there, but you guys can basically see what I mean, that her survivability is kind of a lot better with LERO because of his special skill, which basically puts the barrier on Shalil. So look at this healing right here, 312 million healing. That's not bad. He is not, when it comes to healing, sometimes he can be like a really nuclear healer, but sometimes he won't, is really inconsistent. But when it comes to providing the barrier, additional magic pierce, and being able to increase basic attack, he is a really good unit overall. So this was a really great round. Like, Rachel did really good right here. So let's go ahead and head on over to the next stage, and let's switch out Rachel and Shalil, and let's put in Compressed Drag and Yua, and then we're going to put in Bomb on the other side. So we're going to put Yua right here, we're going to put in Compressed Drag, and then we're going to put in Bomb for that additional energy. So we're going to put Bomb right here, and let's put in the bottom right here so that he can give Yua that additional energy. And let's see how well this team can perform. We probably might lose this fight, but I just want to test and see how good he is when it comes to increasing Magic Pierce and basic attack, and also his special move as well. All right, so we were able to win that attempt, and let's go ahead and check out the stats. As you guys can see, compressed rack 237 million damage, and Yiwa 242 million damage. So yeah, man, LERO is good. This is a really good support unit. They did a great job with this character. Like, I'm actually intrigued as of to how, like, the way they built his kit is very unique because he's doing three things at once. He's healing your team, he is buffing your team, and on top of that, he is also providing a barrier to the ally who has the lowest HP. I still wish that the lowest HP was the highest attack instead, but it is still a good special skill overall. So my overall thoughts on this character, LERO is a very good character, very good unit. Definitely recommend you guys to go for this guy. Since he is a support character, you guys can see that he doesn't require a lot of investment. Like, I have him at 1 red star, and before that I had him at like 3 purple stars, and he was doing perfectly fine. So he is a good character that requires low investment, which is really nice. So let's go ahead and talk about the pros and cons. So for the pros, like I said, he requires low investment, and he has a pretty decent survivability. Sometimes he will die, but as long as he can get the job done, he has decent survivability, and he's able to buff up your magic damage type healing units, which is really good. So if you're using units like Iwa, Rachel, LERO is definitely a good support unit for magic damage type units. And on top of that, he buffs basic attack, which is really good overall, especially for units like such as Shalil, who basically excel when it comes to dealing when it comes to dealing good basic attack damage. And on top of that, he is a universal support unit. So those are pretty much the pros when it comes to LERO. Now, when we look at the cons, I will say for the cons of LERO, his special skill, it would have been better if his special skill targeted a high attack, like a unit, an ally who had the highest attack instead of the lowest HP, because that unit who had the highest attack will basically get additional attack and defense, which is really good overall. So I will say that passive is a con, but another con is also his next active skill, which is the first one. That active skill is kind of useless, I'm not gonna lie. It does pretty good stun, the fact that he can paralyze, but it's only for 2 seconds, so it's not really a big deal. And the third con is he is a melee unit. Like, the fact that he is a melee support unit, it's kind of annoying, and that kind of ruins his survivability. It would have been better if he was ranged, but he is melee, so he's gonna charge into the front line and he might get one-shotted. So those are only the 3 cons when it comes to LERO. But when it comes to the pros, he is a really solid support unit. So like I said, if you are wondering whether or not you should pull for LERO, you should definitely go for it. He is a pretty solid support unit. Anyways, that's pretty much all I have for you guys. I tested Child Yuri on my live stream, and I will make a video on her showcase that should come out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. I really appreciate it, and I'll be catching you guys on the next one. Peace.